Mr. President, the senator from Wyoming was just on the floor and spoke about the schedule of business here in the United States Senate, particularly the question of nominations. Senator Barrasso is my friend. We disagree on a lot of political things, but we respect one another, and I certainly respect him. There's an important chapter that he just left out of recounting the history of the nominations process in the Senate. I call it the J.D. Vance chapter. Listen to this. When Donald Trump was in his first term, he nominated over 90 U.S. attorneys. Every one of them passed with a voice vote, with the possible exception of one in Massachusetts. Every one of these passed with a voice vote. In other words, we didn't require any roll calls. We filled these vacancies for U.S. attorneys. Then came Joe Biden. And under the Biden presidency, a decision was made by one senator, J.D. Vance of the state of Ohio. He came along and said, I no longer will allow you, my right as a senator, to stop it. I will no longer allow you to have a nominee for U.S. attorney go through without a roll call. It sounds like a very minor request, but with potentially over 90 of these roll calls, we found ourselves backed up in a situation where we couldn't approve any U.S. attorneys. We didn't have the time on the calendar to do it because of the J.D. Vance requirement. I came to this floor, this very spot, 8 times, pleading with then Senator J.D. Vance, please don't do this. We have comity and understanding on U.S. attorneys. We did under Trump in his first term, and we certainly did in the early stages of Biden, but now you're requiring roll call votes on each of the U.S. attorneys, and it's going to create an obstacle to progress on the floor of the Senate. 8 times I came to the floor asking unanimous consent for Senator Vance to withdraw this demand. He refused each time. Then he went off to run for vice president. And while he was gone running for vice president, I came to the floor again and asked the Republicans remaining in the Senate chamber to allow me a unanimous consent that nominees for U.S. attorney would not go through this roll call process. Unfortunately, a number of now sitting U.S. senators on the Republican side came to the floor and objected. They wanted to keep the Vance rule in place. I warned them that the obstacles they were creating under President Biden, unprecedented, that had not been seen under President Trump in his first term, would come back to haunt all of us, and now they have. This requires us to sit down at some point and have an understanding moving forward, not just on nominees and whether there are roll calls on the floor, but fundamental and basic questions as to whether or not a minority position, for example, on an important agency or council is going to be respected. What the Trump administration has done, for example, in many places, in commissions and agencies, is to eliminate the Democrats, to fire them from their jobs and leave vacancies unfilled. And then the Republicans come to us and say, well, we have Republican nominees for the Republican spots. And we say, what about the Democratic nominees? Say, we're not going to allow you to call any of those. There's got to be some understanding and comedy, and you think that grown-ups should be able to resolve this issue. But the representation of what our problem is this morning did not include those 2 elements and many others. I hope we can resolve this in a favorable way for the benefit of the American people, but there is a history behind it. Fundamentally, we're in a minority now on the Democratic side, and we don't believe that the rules that the Republicans insisted on should be to their benefit only. They should benefit both political parties, and unfortunately, we're in a position where that is not happening. Mr. President,